Okay, welcome to the September 28th, 2021 special meeting of the Human Services Advisory Board. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Thank you for attending. I will now call roll for the record of board members in attendance. Joanne, Mary Ells, Monica Gonzalez, Alfreda Lee.
Here.
Eleanor O'Shen.
Here.
And Melina, she did call me to let me know that she wasn't attending tonight because she wasn't feeling well. Gloria Quinn and Megan Campbell, who is our non-voting member. So with 5 out of 7 voting members in attendance, we have a quorum. Each speaker will be provided up to 3 minutes to speak. Staff is everyone present in person, online, or by phone to speak during the citizen comment period.
We have one, I'm sorry, can you hear me? We have one extra person, Shannon C, and we can never tell, if they're here to comment. So Shannon, are you here to comment as part of the 30-minute citizen comment period?
Good evening. No, I am here just as a person of interest.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you for attending. Okay, then we have no one to comment at this time.
We will now consider approval by motion of the September 14th and 21st meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion?
I motion.
Eleanor, okay.
I motion to approve the meeting minutes.
And do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, Mary, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does the board have any discussions or corrections regarding the minutes? I do have a question for, it says co-chair on both for the 14th and the 21st. Would co-chair would be Mary Ells and then chair would be Joanne Parsons. Was that an oversight or is that the way you wanted it, Carol? Because you have co-chair on both. So is that the way you wanted it?
I'm sorry, are you asking me a question?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
For the September 14th and the 28th, it had co-chair on both for Joanne and Mary. Is that the way you wanted it, or were we going back to chair and co-chair?
Oh, I had just understood that it was co-chair and co-chair. So we can change it, yeah, however you need to. Yeah, like if you want to correct it to something different, feel free and we'll make that change.
Doesn't matter. I just never seen it like that before. That's why I was asking.
Okay.
Does anybody want to correct it or you want to leave it the same?
It needs to be corrected. We have a chair and we have a co-chair. That's the way we started. It's always been like that. I don't believe we've had any discussion. Eleanor, do you remember it being different? You've been on the board for a while.
No, I don't.
Okay, so let's see. Is the chair Joanne Parsons?
Yes.
And and co-chair is Mary Earls. Okay, we'll correct that and we'll get the minutes to y'all for your signatures.
Okay. So those were the only corrections that I saw. That anybody see any other corrections that need to be made? So all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
And all against, please say nay. The motion to approve is carried. We now receive a 5-minute presentation by the applicant agencies for each program that was listed on the evening's agenda. Each agency will receive a 30-second warning as the 5-minute time limit is approaching. Each presentation will be followed by a 5-minute question and answer session between board members and the agency regarding the program application. Members of the public are welcome to listen to the presentation, but will not take part in the discussion or the questions and answer session. Time limits will be strictly enforced on both the presentation and the questions in the answer session. Since I am a voting member on the board, so that I can devote my attention to the presentation and discussion, staff will introduce the presentation and track the time.
Okay, so the first agency presenting this evening is Synacor Foundation. And I am so sorry, I don't have my list in front of me. I'll get it for the next one. I believe it's Carla Merritt.
Yes,
presenting.
Carol,
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Great. And so the first program we have on the agenda is prevention of substance abuse. And so the way we've set it up is that you can present for 5 minutes on that one. We'll have a 5-minute Q&A, and then you'll present for 5 minutes on the next one.
Wonderful.
And
thank you, Carol. The next one will be our YRC manager, who is Lori Lynn. She's our manager. So
great. Okay, we'll do that. Thank you so much. And it's over to you.
okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I just appreciate your time tonight. So prevention, you probably know us from Red Ribbon Week. That's a lot of people remember us and recognize us in the community and what we do. In a nutshell, we have been doing this work again for many, many years. I myself started way back in the Just Say No era. And I've watched prevention in our community just become more and more important, and watched the field change to really embrace children, youth, and their families in a more holistic way. We provide the curriculum-based program, we provide presentations, and we provide after-school activities for youth of all ages. And one of the things that's real important to us is the health and wellness. And we've watched our field move to that piece of health and wellness. Worked with many amazing people over the years and still do. Miss Bonnie at the Housing Authority, Julie over at YSB. There's just so many people, and I recognize some people that I've worked with a long time on this call as well. And so we just come here tonight just hoping to continue to receive funding for our prevention program. We have a long-standing relationship in the San Marcos schools, and have worked with many admin and counselors. And so we want to continue that work in the city of San Marcos, work real closely with Parks and Rec in the summer, and doing all those great, wonderful activities with their camps. And so we really just come tonight again and, want to continue this great work that has been going on for 30 years in our community. And so it's a real important piece now more than ever, of course, with what's happening with COVID-19 and what we're seeing as we talk to our counselors, our principals, about just the mental health, and that can often lead to substance use because just everything that we've experienced in our society over the last 18 months. So I'm ready. If anybody has questions, I'm ready to take questions.
Okay, so we'll start the 5-minute Q&A period now. And so y'all just go ahead and ask questions as they come to mind. And this, of course, is only for the board members to ask questions.
You said in your application that y'all provided sober social events. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So yes, ma'am. So that's with our YRC, or Youth Recovery Community, which Miss Lori's going to talk about because that's a whole nother program that we have, and definitely she's going to talk about that.
Would you elaborate on your after-school youth program a little bit more?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we work, again, as I mentioned, with the San Marcos Housing Authority. I've worked with Miss Bonnie for many, many years. Jean Martin. We also work with the Boys and Girls Club because we know that we can't reach every student during the school day. So the after-school program, those programs are another way for us to reach the children, to reach the youth as they go to after school programs in the community. So we have longstanding relationships with them. And we provide presentations there. We provide activities there for them. Again, it all centers around health and wellness. It might be a topic on decision-making one day. It might be something on increasing resiliency skills. It might be something on self-esteem. So, I mean, there's just so many topics that we cover. But again, it's all about the social and emotional health of the youth in our community and how important that is for them. We want to build those coping skills, help build those protective factors around them and their families. And so we do that, again, through a lot of after school community partners. They're so important to us. And again, we've worked with them for many, many years.
If you're not awarded, okay, thank you, I'm sorry. If you're not awarded the whole 10,000 that you're requesting, what type of impact would that have on the services that you offer?
So, yes, ma'am. So, you know, one of the things we are funded by the state. And so they do ask that we go into our communities and look for those match dollars to receive that support. So if we didn't get the whole 10,000, then definitely we would need to look at other opportunities to be able to supplement that because that is an important piece in our state contract. And so we would just need to look at opportunities to make sure that we fulfill our contract because we have had these contracts with the state again for many, many years since I've been in the field, and we want to uphold that piece of the contract.
Do you have any success stories? Anything you can share with us as far as outcomes, or because you're partnering with another social service?
Oh, yes. So again, you know, just looking at historically the schools themselves and, you know, working with, again, from elementary all the way to the high school level throughout the years. I think that the impact is just that consistency. You know, we just continue every year to be in the schools and be there. We've already started. We're in Miller, we're in Goodnight. We've already started services. We've got Rodriguez and Travis lined up. And so that consistency in our school district for years and years and years, and how our schools look to us to provide this education, and not only for the youth, but also for their parents as well. And so to me, that consistency is success. We're on the prevention side, we're all about education. And so that's success.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
We do have another presentation by Senecor. Ms. Lynn, you will have another 5 minutes for the youth recovery community. Are you ready to present?
Yes, yeah, I am. I'm ready. Ready as I'll ever be.
All right, so 5 minutes on the clock.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a great honor to be here and be asked to talk about my program, our program, because Youth Recovery Community, YRC, it's a free program for ages 13 to 21. And a lot of times we get lumped in with prevention because we are housed together. Carla is my fearless leader over many programs that are cost reimbursement for Senecor. The biggest difference on this side is we're providing peer support that's revolving around recovery as far as substance use, mental health difficulties. We've got some longstanding partners now as well since 2018. Some of those are big partnerships. Texas State, we started the Student Recovery Alliance. So we are partnered over there with the Health Center. They're a huge proponent of ours. Somebody asked about the sober events. So an example of a fun and social sober event that we've got coming up is we'll be at the sober, we have a sober tailgate that's planned, as a barbecue pit, all the things. I'll be out there cooking at Texas State, and that's representing our Student Recovery Alliance. That's now 3, 4, I think, Carla, maybe we're 4 years old now. And it's a huge deal. They've allowed us the homecoming game slot to provide and facilitate the sober tailgate side of that. Yeah, I get super excited. We have a team of what are called peer recovery leaders, and we provide services on campuses inside of our recovery community center, which is a standalone. It's different. We're placed strategically over on 123, really close to Lamar, Bonham. Lamar is a campus that we work closely with. We find that the alternative campuses have a large need because they've got kids that have come into contact with substance use. They're in some type of trouble. And so we're able to go over there, provide groups weekly, provide individual coaching sessions. The peer leaders, a lot of them that I'm lucky enough to get to work with are grad students from Texas State that have encountered some type, they've got some lived experience that they've overcome. And so they're using that to develop their professional experience and be that supportive adult in an adolescent's life, right? We can all remember at some point, look back and go, oh, that teacher that made a difference, or that coach, or that person that mentored me. That's what we're trying to do. I think we accomplish it pretty well. We've got some pretty good stories also, but it's providing support also for the entire family. So it's threefold, really: individuals, groups, and then those fun and sober social activities. But that's not all that we can do. Looking at various resources, and we have, again, those community partnerships with the school campuses, and that's 13 to 21. But even if they're at Texas State, let's say, and they age out, they're 22 years old and they're still with us, still needing services. Our state provider, I met with her today, she's amazing. And she says, no one gets kicked out, right? Use the money that we have, provide the services, and just show up, right? Provide the space that's safe for them to come and receive whatever support that they need. We also have a family coordinator, which translates to the parent liaison. And that person is there. We've got, she's got her master's in social work at our location. I have 2 other locations now because we expanded. The state loved what we were doing. So we're in the Tyler community also in Amarillo. We just have a ton. We have a ton. With the fall semester and schools and campuses opening back up, we're doing presentations. We're a big presence doing groups, just offering whatever. We'll be at Goodnight next week, starting services over there. And then we have presentations set up for San Marcos High School. And that's for staff. That's also for parents. One of the things that we see is staff, counselors, social emotional counselors, such as Jenny Parker over at Lamar. That's one person, and she's got 60 kids. So we're providing support to the staff that has a huge need. They can't possibly see and case manage every one of those children, and then provide support for the parents as well.
30 seconds.
Oh, awesome. Let me see, what else do I want you guys to hear? After school activities, we're building right now a peer advisory council. So this is very much student and adolescent driven. We're trying to promote self-efficacy and provide leadership skills, mentoring. We can do tutoring there if we need to. We have a really amazing space that's got gaming systems. We can do virtual. Okay. I could talk all day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And 5-minute Q&A starts now.
Okay.
I have a question. I really like what you were saying about peer advisory council and mentoring. Can you just give us one example without a lot of details of a success story?
I absolutely can. So I've been with Centocor before YRC. So I came from outpatient treatment. Had a young man that very angry, a lot of trauma, was on my adult caseload. And when outpatient closed for us and I transitioned over to youth recovery, he was in contact and said, how do I get free counseling? Like, what's going to happen to me? I said, oh, you're going to come over here and you're going to hang out at the YRC with us. So now we're 3 years down the road, and just bought a new truck through his credit union. These are skills that we've worked on over the past few years. This is a significant, huge story for him. He's gotten off of probation, did not end up going to jail or being in the system. Yeah, new truck, new job, his own apartment. I can't say enough about the work that we're able to do. We're promoting resiliency and showing these adolescents that struggle something that they're not seeing every day in their life. Like, hey, I just will show up for you and hear you. So yeah, he's my one of my stories. I have a couple more.
Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful.
In your application, you talked about a movement break, and it's taking a walk outside, I guess, for them to cool down or whatever. And you said that Travis Elementary does not have anything like this, like a walking trail or a quiet space for them to go outside. You also said that Centacor could utilize these funds to implement this project. Can you give us a little bit more details on that? And about how much are you looking to give them out of the money that you're asking for to do something like this?
That may have been Carla. We did this as a joint endeavor, so I think that may be a question that she answered. Is that correct, Carla? I don't recall answering that one.
That is correct. That was on my application.
Okay.
So sorry, that was on mine. I'd be glad to answer it, but I don't want to take Lori's time.
What do we do?
So we'll just continue with questions for Lori.
Yes. Okay.
And how many students are in the program now? Right now?
Currently, we are reporting 26 students, and that's a low coming out of summer, and that happens frequently. So our high before it was pre-COVID, we were in the 60s, and that's not counting the collegiate recovery, the student body there. So that's a separate number. We also have a small group over there that ranges between 5 and 10. So currently we're reporting 26 to the state, and we have 5 families with full engagement.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your collaboration with Texas State? You were saying you work with graduate students, social work students.
Mm-hmm. So the collaboration with Texas State, them being a community partner, started because the founder, my predecessor who has left, she got her graduate degree and wanted to be a counselor, was a student over at Texas State, began working at Centacor and was new in recovery. So got the job and said, hey, we've got this new program. I'm going to start running it out of Texas State. Went to the health center. Julie Eckert is one of our main contact people over there. And it's a very similar situation. You know, you've got a very huge campus and a lot of students and a counseling center that only has limited, mental health support, which was huge when quarantine hit, because we were able to provide, we were doing SRA virtually. So Elisa developed the Student Recovery Alliance, and I've taken that over, and we have kept growing and fostering that. So we have the group, but what we end up finding is that we have graduate students that will come over and apply for work with us and do the work and finish out their graduate degree working for us, which is amazing.
Wonderful. That's great to see that collaboration between the organizations. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as the match funding, must you raise at least half of what the Texas Health and Human Services?
It's not half.
I'm sorry, we're gonna go ahead and call time. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. But we do have match dollars.
Okay, slide it in there. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that we have to call time. We're trying to keep it even for everyone. So let's see. So we will now go on to our next presentation, which is for Community Action Inc. of Central Texas, talking about the San Marcos Senior Citizen Center is Carol Belver.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you virtually. Sorry we can't be there in person. I miss coming down and chatting with you. Well, this is our 49th year serving seniors in San Marcos, and we are providing a very needed program for the elders of our community, especially the low-income folks. It's been a tough year this past year with COVID, trying to serve all the seniors. But in spite of that, we've actually increased our numbers. Even though they're not coming in directly to this center, we're providing them services. They come by the senior citizen every Tuesday to pick up food, because we partner with the San Marcos Hays County Food Bank. We're a distributor there, as well as Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels provides us frozen foods for our meals, not foods, frozen meals for our seniors. And we have a group of volunteers that actually go out and hand deliver those meals. I have to brag a little bit. My husband is one of those volunteers. He's been doing it over a year and a half, and he loves getting out and visiting with the seniors. And those that can come by, they come to the center. We have a box ready for them. We put it in their trunk or their back seat. We're very masked up, we're gloved, we do everything, try to keep everybody safe. And we were hoping to reopen in September until, of course, the Delta strain reared its ugly little head. And so we're now back on hold again. But despite that, we're providing a lot of services through virtual with our seniors. And it's been really kind of fun to see what all they can do. They're actually playing virtual bingo. Now, don't ask me how they do it, because I don't know. I'm this far away from being a nerd when it comes, or idiot when it comes to computer stuff. I'm lucky to be able to get on my Zoom calls with y'all. But the seniors are loving it. We have actually, like I said, we've increased our numbers to about 65 average a week. And it's kind of hard because, you know, of course, some people come and then they go and then others come. When we have the senior citizen open, they love to play bingo. We do exercises with them. We provide that community spirit with them. We celebrate birthdays. We're there to help them. One of the reasons why we asked for a little bit more money this year is that we were hoping that we would be able to expand our services to allow the seniors to stay to 3 o'clock. We find that, you know, sometimes their caregivers, like their children or their partner, will drop them off. And then if they work, picking them up at 2 o'clock sometimes is kind of a stress. And if we can keep our center open a little bit longer, we think that would be beneficial for everybody concerned. Let me see what else. We partner, of course, with carts. When the center is open, they drop off our seniors and pick them up at the given time. Of course, we, like I said, we do provide during un-COVID years, we provide hot noon meals, which, you know, it's more than just a meal. It's companionship, it's a camaraderie, it's being able to talk to other people, have fun, listen to music, you know, do crafts, do different things. Just a whole array of services that we have been providing. So I'm pretty much willing to answer any questions that you may have. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find out the answer and get back with you.
Okay, so we'll start the 5-minute Q&A.
Do you still feel that you will need that extra money since you don't know when the center will be reopening due to COVID?
Well, we're still open. We're just not open right this second for the actual bodies coming in, but we're still providing services, if not more now, because when they come and pick up their meals for the week, we have other items that we put in those boxes, games and different things to keep them entertained and active. So it's not just, you know, we haven't closed down at all. I mean, our people are still there working, and they do daily calls with them. They reach out, make sure everybody's okay. That is really important. I have a mother that's 93, and she, you know, she waits until I get home. I mean, I am her it, you know. And so for some of these folks that come to our center, we're it. We're their social contact. They don't have anybody else. So they look forward to receiving phone calls from us and interacting with them in a way that maybe their family can't.
You provide the frozen meals from Meals on Wheels. I saw that you also work with the food bank. So is that to say you also provide canned goods?
Yes. Whatever the food bank gives us, we provide that. And I thank Eleanor because we've been a great partner with them for a number of years. We've been a site for them. And our employees work very hard to make sure everything's distributed equally and get it out to those that need it.
Thank you.
I have to say, I'm really impressed that you guys are making phone calls. And I know that that is a lifeline to a lot of seniors that are isolated at home right now. We get lots of phone calls with people that want to just talk about anything. So are you finding that you're kind of needing more help to kind of manage those phone calls and provide different resources for them than when they would come into the center as far as mental health? Or
I think it's probably a little bit of both. You know, when they come into the center, you know, we can provide other things as a group, but it is real important for the one-on-one contact, because otherwise they may feel stranded and alone and not have anybody to reach out to. So yeah, those phone calls, you know, can take a while. And if you've got 45 on any given day, you know, and if you spend just 5 minutes, I mean, that's a lot of time. So, and you know how they like to talk. They want to tell you all about their family and their dog and, you know, what's going on in their life. And so we're their ears. And I would say that April and Erica have gone way over and above trying to find different things to reach out to the seniors to keep them active.
How often do you contact any one senior?
At least once a week, if not more.
Okay. Depending on what you're hearing, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah, that's good.
And their needs. Some, you know, some seniors need a little more, especially those that are alone, that don't have a lot of family to fall back on. You kind of get a feel for who they are and what their needs are. So yeah. April is real attuned to that.
Yeah, I'm thinking cutting them off at 5 minutes would be difficult for that scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned pets. Do you provide pet food for pets, or do you refer them? You probably have a whole list of referrals for these folks.
30 seconds.
No, to my knowledge, we don't, unless somebody donates some. I do know that we get donations from time to time for adult diapers, and we pass those out to those that need. And if they have other requests, we try to accommodate when we can.
Okay.
Have you expanded your hours of operation?
Not in the last few years, no.
So what time are you closing down the center?
At 2 o'clock, but the staff stay till 3.
I like the 3 o'clock idea. Just saying.
That's time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. And then our next presentation will be for the Greater San Marcos Youth Council. And this agency has 2 programs. The first program they'll be presenting on is the Children's Shelter, and it is Julia Ramsey New.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you. My name is Julia New, and I'm the Executive Director for the Greater San Marcos Youth Council. The Texas foster care system is in crisis, and not every community has safe alternatives for children to live temporarily. The state was sued in 2011 for violating the rights of foster children, and in 2015, a federal judge ruled that Texas does violate the rights of children in foster care. Texas is now scrambling to meet the requirements of the court to improve outcomes for children and families, as well as the federal mandates outlined in the Family First Prevention Services Act of 2018. For many years, our children's shelter has had a safety rating of 100%. We've always exceeded minimum standards outlined by the state for operations such as ours. And some of the ways we do that is by exceeding ratios in caregivers, providing normalcy activities, and requiring overnight staff remain awake before either were mandated. And the best way to describe this program is it's a triage unit for traumatized children, all different ages, all different stories, but above all else who need to feel safe and loved. And these are some of the children that we've had the privilege to take care of. A sibling group ages 8 to 15, drug use with parents, never been enrolled in school, none knew how to read, with one sibling going against the others to make the outcry of sexual abuse. 2 of them were severely neglected to the point they were developmentally delayed, underdeveloped physically, had speech impediments, and used extreme measures to self-soothe. They both looked different. They looked like different children when they left our care. And all were excited about learning and being in school. One of them even woke up early on Sunday mornings to be tutored. Another sibling group, also 8 to 15, with the oldest sexually abused by 2 males in the home. The outcry was made by the older sibling when it became clear the younger sibling would suffer the same abuse. When they came into our care, the 8-year-old was nonverbal and relied on the older sibling for everything. When they were discharged, the child was much more independent. She was willing to sleep in a bedroom away from the older sibling, communicated to the caregivers with notes, and was participating in activities with other residents. An 11-year-old, the only one from the sibling group able to remain in a regular placement, had not attended school for 1.5 years, is now on 504, passing all classes, and the attorney representing the child requested the judge mandate an extended stay with us. Because of the foster care crisis and the pandemic, we exceeded our capacity several times last year. Yet none of our caregivers or children got COVID-19. During the ice storm, our campus was without power for 72 hours, forcing us to move the children to a hotel. Our staff moved 14 children ages 2 to 15 to Comfort Inn without incident, where they remained until the power was restored. Over the years, former residents contact us to let us know how they are. There are those who donate, others who come back to visit. We recognize the ideal situation is for every child to remain at home, well cared for and loved by family. With many children not able to remain in their homes due to abuse and neglect, we work diligently to ensure that each child who needs us gets what all humans need: kind consideration, genuine respect,
30 seconds,
and opportunities to maintain our dignity. Thank you for your time.
Okay, and the 5-minute Q&A can start now.
What's your maximum capacity?
We have 16 beds, and we have an extra bed. We have a single bedroom, and then we have several couches and 2 air mattresses for when we have to exceed capacity. We do have to get permission from the state, though.
Okay. Does that happen often?
It didn't happen, I would say maybe once a year, and then in the pandemic, it happened several times.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Okay. And the length of stay is about how long?
That's a great question. They stay anywhere from a few hours to months and months. The longest anyone has ever stayed was a sibling group. They were here almost 2 years, and they were here because the judge said they had to stay here until their forever family was found.
Oh, and that took how long? 2 years?
It took almost 2 years because the parent who was the abuser appealed the state's decision to terminate rights.
So is it mainly social work services that brings you? What kind of clientele? What's their briefly, parents surrendering or homeless?
The majority of our children are in the custody of the state of Texas. The Child Protective Services has removed them. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay.
I'll try again. Ask me the question again.
No. I mean, duh. Yeah, foster. I just
okay.
Thought maybe there was some other incident that might.
We can get kids from law enforcement. We have kids.
Directly from the home or something. That's what I'm thinking. That it's kind of a foster, but I didn't know whether there was some report and they were taken from the home before they even got in the system.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll make their way here themselves. Sometimes law enforcement will bring them, but more often than not, it's the state that's done an investigation and removed the kids.
Okay. All right. And you're pretty much at capacity now, or most of the time, or what?
12 is the magic number, and we have 12 today. Anything over 13, 14 is
challenging.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And you really had no positive COVID for anybody?
Well, in this program. We have none.
No, I mean, that's
yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, you deserve an attaboy. Okay.
Julia, you provide some other services while the children are there. Can you tell us what those are?
Yes, we are permitted by the state to provide basic child care, emergency care services, and assessment services. So when the child comes in, we are charged with determining what their needs are and starting to schedule whatever evaluations they need. If they need dental care, if they need medical care, we do have to have them seen by a physician. It's a well check. We have to have them seen by a physician within 3 days when they get here, and unless they've seen somebody recently. So education, social skills, you name it, whatever you would provide for your child in your home is what we do for the kids here.
What about counseling?
Yes, ma'am. We do that too. And,
well, I imagine you do. How does that, take place?
So we have licensed people in our non-residential program, and then we have a therapist who comes in weekly and meets with the kids, and she actually has a therapy dog. So that's been really wonderful for the kids.
Okay.
That is time.
Okay, and next we will hear again from Julia New, And now she's going to talk about the Family and Youth Success Program.
Great. Thank you. Family and Youth Success Program, or FAYS, is our non-residential program. Parenting is hard. Living with people is hard. Supporting families with children so they can stay together is critical. An effective way to do this is through prevention and early intervention services designed to prevent incidents of child abuse, neglect, truancy, delinquency, and is absolutely the way to go. It causes less trauma, improves coping skills, reduces stress and other risk factors, and is proven to be much less expensive than foster care or incarceration. And our non-residential program operates out of our Counseling and Resource Center. Our agency has remained open throughout the pandemic, only closing briefly to sanitize after 2 counselors tested positive for COVID-19. And again, when our Counseling and Resource Center had nearly 3 inches of water throughout the building from a frozen pipe in February. Clients continued to participate in services that were provided virtually or in nice weather outside on agency grounds. A technology grant enabled us to help families and students when our services and learning changed to virtual. Most clients have requested services in person again, with our agency providing masks and space to social distance. And these are some of the youth and families we've had the privilege to serve. The 14-year-old made her way to a restaurant downtown from a local motel where she had been trafficked. She was pregnant and in desperate need of help. The restaurant owner fed her and called us. We picked her up, brought her back to the agency where we began the search for family to get her home. Our counselor put together a travel care kit for her, and once family was located, took her to the bus station, purchased a ticket, and waited with her to ensure she got on the bus safely. Another one, she's a good kid. She gets good grades. She's also 16 and is being physically assaulted by a parent in the home, a parent with mental health issues. When she starts to fight back, someone in the family calls 911 and law enforcement brings her to our shelter. One of our counselors worked with her during her stay with us. The foster care system may not have gotten involved with this family, but we did. And she was discharged to go live with family members who wanted her and who she wanted to live with. Another child is still under the age of 10. Mom commits suicide in front of her child. Many children on our caseloads have been sexually abused or assaulted, one of whom tried to commit suicide 2 weeks ago. A young teen was adopted as an adolescent after many years of horrific abuse. In and out of psych hospitals. Parents recently reported there have been no violent outbursts for an entire week. Another young teen who is possibly on the autism spectrum but hasn't been diagnosed. We are helping them find a physician while the counselor works with the family to make things easier for their child, especially because their child is being bullied at school. A teenager is referred by the school for truancy. The family was struggling financially and the teen wanted to quit school and go to work. But no one in his family had graduated high school and he wanted better. We provided counseling and basic needs assistance to the family. The teen did graduate and called to let his counselor know. We all celebrated with him by collecting funds for a graduation gift. The prevention and early intervention services provided by our agency help families grow their children into healthy and productive members of our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now the Q&A can start for the Family and Youth Success Program.
Julia, thank you for sharing all of those stories and Greater San Marcos Youth Council's intervention and help. It is just really amazing. I commend you guys for your work, really. I'm sure during the pandemic, I'm glad to hear that you were able to get things set up so that you could virtually meet with families. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And so is that continuing today? Are you guys open again? Are you seeing people in person? I'm sure sometimes they would prefer that, you know, I think.
We are still providing virtual services to those families, especially those who've come into contact with someone tested positive for COVID. Mm-hmm. So we went back to virtual with a few of our families. However, now between 75 and 80, maybe 90% of our families are in person again. And then of course we go to the schools and see their kids.
Right. I was wondering if there was another avenue, because I'm sure some of them struggle with maybe having access to the internet and you know, all of that would be kind of tough to navigate. I mean, we struggle to navigate that on Zoom. So I mean, any meetings, you know, there's usually an issue. So how many families are you working with right now? Is it?
Well, I can tell you last month, our counselors served 110 families and they provided 285 sessions.
Wow.
And those are individual youth and then family sessions.
And I'm sure you've seen, or have you seen an increase during COVID? And
Yes. Carla mentioned mental health issues, and that's absolutely right. It's been pretty rough on everybody.
Yes. Thank you.
I think maybe a few of those sessions were also parenting classes because we do that as well.
Can you tell me a bit about I'm sorry.
Counselors do you have right now?
I'm sorry, Mary, would you say that again?
How many counselors do you have that are working?
We have 2 licensed people, and then we have 3 family support specialists that have they have degrees, but they're not licensed. So that's 5. And then our associate director, she just passed her LPC exam, and she can do services so that we can keep our waiting list down.
Thank you.
Ooh, they must be busy 6 people. So how do you get your referrals?
Everywhere. A lot of the referrals come from schools. During the pandemic, families made up a bulk of the referrals. We have kids call themselves, school counselors, you name it.
You mean families that recognize they need help and they call you? Really? Well, that's encouraging.
Yeah, we're proud of our families. It's hard to ask for
prevention,
help.
You know, I mean,
yeah, it's hard to ask for help.
It's money.
Do you want me to use my time to just talk?
Oh, sure. I mean, I don't want to be the one to just grill you over this.
30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds. So again, we all have, we have state contracts. However, they don't cover the entire cost of our services. And like Carla mentioned, we have to show community support. And we couldn't do what we do without support from the city, the county, and United Way. So thank y'all so much for volunteering to serve on this board.
That is time.
Okay, thank you very much. And I will turn the meeting back over to Joanne.
Hear me now? Sorry. We will now hold discussions among board members on programs, agencies, and applications for the process of clarification, comparison, evaluation, and assessment. This discussion is public, however, it is only among board members. This time is meant to be free flow of conversations, but please make your comments succinct to allow time for all board members to share if they wish. This discussion will be facilitated by Carol Griffith, Housing and Community Development Manager. Carol, the floor is yours.
Okay, and we generally hold the discussion until about 8:25, and it seems like that's working pretty well. I do have an announcement to make as well. I'm sorry, I'm trying to finish this. Okay, let's see. I do need to let y'all know that we inadvertently, through a clerical error, did not send the application notice to all of the prior applicants. So we had intended to send it to any prior applicants for the past 3 years. We have now compared the list, and we can see that we have about 7 or 8 that did not receive the notice, and that was through our error. And so we are planning to reopen the application process and send an application just specifically to those prior applicants so that we can include them in the process. The way that timing would work is that we will send them the notice tomorrow. They'll have about 3 weeks to submit their application. We'll take a few days to make sure it's complete, and then we will schedule them to speak to y'all to present in early November. So it will push our decision meetings back a week or 2 into November. And where's my list? The timeline that we are looking at then is that the final recommendation would go to City Council on December 21st. We would be having the presentations from these newer people, if they submit an application, on November 2nd and 9th. And that may put our discussion and scoring meetings to November 16th and 30th. There is a possibility that we'll be able to fit all of the presentations on the 2nd. Let's hope for that. And so if so, then we would be discussing and deciding November 9th and 16th. So I'd be happy to take questions about that. We are planning to move forward with that unless I hear any objections from the board. So.
When you say you're opening it up, you're only opening it up to the 7 that were prior recipients.
Correct.
Okay.
Would we still be receiving their application information?
So you will. It'll give you about a week it'll give you a solid week to be able to review the information before they present. So let's say 5 of them submit their applications. It would be like a typical week. You would have a week to review, and then you would have presentations, and then we would roll. They would be the last ones, but then we would roll into the discussion and decision the next week. So, and we do apologize for that error. Like, we really had intended to send the application to the broadest range possible, and we absolutely wanted to include them, and they ended up on the wrong list accidentally. So, okay, with that, I don't want to belabor and take your time. So we can go ahead and now open it up for discussion. And as you know, y'all are welcome to discuss either about these specific applications or about others that you've seen, so far or that are coming up. I would remind everyone that the speakers from tonight are welcome to leave or stay. Anyone can listen in. However, this is just a discussion among the board members. So we are not expecting, or we're not allowing, I guess I should say, any interaction. And so thank you so much for your presentations. And so anyone is free to start the discussion. And I guess I would ask first, does anyone have questions?
My question got cut off. but when they talk about the match funding, does that mean, and I don't know if you guys would be able to answer, that they have to come up with at least half of the approved amount, or I wasn't clear on that.
So is that something, let's see, we have to restrict interaction with the agencies, but does another board member know the answer to that question? And remind me again which entity it was.
Synacor, Prevention of Substance Abuse, and also the Youth Recovery Community. They both had the match funding from the Texas Health and Human Services. The substance abuse was the $30,000 and the youth recovery was $29,000. They were requesting, substance use was requesting $15,000 and youth recovery was requesting, I think, $10,000.
And
so you're wondering, okay, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say in their application, it shows that they are already have funding from the county and from the city of Lockhart for this program. I think that's this one that I'm looking at. Yeah. That was for the youth recovery. And so it looks to me like they already have taken that into consideration and have asked for funding for the match, to match. You know, we were saying that I think in the application it's 50%, right?
Yes.
So I think they show that in their application. If I'm wrong, please somebody correct me.
I'm looking at it, that's correct.
It says what additional funding, it's question number 7, and it has Hays County and the city of Lockhart.
Mm-hmm.
So then we can, of course, go on to discussion. So I didn't really prepare any specific questions. I can certainly, throw some out, but I hope that y'all will just be able to talk through it. The main purpose of this discussion time is to try to help it be memorable. You do have quite a few agencies that you're reviewing. And so, you might consider what makes it memorable for you, or what do you see as being particularly needed in the city compared to other services. I always do that. The board is going to need to winnow down the list quite a bit. We have already $1.7 million in requests. And so are these services especially needed, and are they a good bang for the buck? Things like that.
Well, with Synacor, I want to note that, many of the organizations this evening that spoke are partnering with other organizations or groups. Synacor mentioned that they partner with the Housing Authority for childcare, and I think some parenting programs. But it seemed like to me that they're building programs out of other programs. And maybe it just seemed like they were pulling or developing programs out of other programs when they could just intertwine or address those issues or concerns they're having, or build upon the existing program. It just seemed like they were building programs or pulling programs out of existing programs, kind of stacking programs. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
Maybe
Synacor is big. They're big.
Yeah, they've been around a long time.
Rinky-dink little, yeah. So.
But I was glad and happy to hear that they are partnering with other organizations now. That they're working
they've got resources.
Yeah.
Big time.
I think having a program working in coordination with Texas State is really good too. I know there's probably other types of support out there, but I don't know, the youth recovery community. I think that's something that is needed. The only thing I have to say about all of the organizations tonight is they're all organizations that have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that they work hard and they do good work. So,
Right.
Well, I would like to say that, you know, all of them are addressing needs, but as Mary was stating, they all seem to be duplicating existing programs and just expanding within their own organization, something that already existed. But if I was to look at all the different programs and look at the population they're serving, the community action program seems to target a different population than everyone else. They're targeting the seniors who are often forgotten within our community, and they really need that extra social support and network. As they mentioned, a lot of these may not have family close by or are checking in on them, so having that social network to help them thrive is very important.
I think that's why I had a question for Carla about utilizing funds to implement a project with Travis Elementary. And so, Carol, could you get more clarity on that, emailing her to see how much, what type of project are they implementing? Because when I was reading over the application, it's just out of the blue. This comes up. So is this something like Mary was saying, like new they want to start with, or, you know, it's for quiet time walks. They said that they had a trail on site except for Travis Elementary. And so what are they wanting to partner with Travis to do, and how much of the money that they're asking for are they wanting to put toward that? And out of all the applications, Centacor was the only one that specifically requested the American Rescue Fund. Awesome.
Okay, so I'll ask them. And I just realized, I am sorry, y'all, I did not email Melge your list of questions. I will get that done tomorrow so that you can have answers hopefully within the week. And then I will also send this one to Centacor.
Did you email Ms. Cook? I think we were asking her out of the 120,000 that she was requesting. I know a lot of it was startup, but what is the bottom line? How much of what they would need in order to be able to successfully move to San Marcos and start that program without so much startup costs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sure will.
Okay. Also with the Senior Services Center, I like that, you know, usually during COVID, everything increases somehow, but I like that their increase was positive, where they were able to add, you know, more in their boxes, you know, for like entertaining themselves or whatever. And looks like adding a little bit more variety of foods. Also, you know, staying on the phones more with them to make sure they're okay. It just seems like they sought ways to utilize the funds that they had, even though they couldn't utilize them in their regular way because of COVID. I like that they were creative with it, and it really serviced the elderly community better.
And I know that this is the second time that she had mentioned expanding the hours. I believe last year, the last time she wanted funds to expand the hours. And I think she was really trying to support families who had dropped off, family members and who got off late, so that they would have some additional time. to get there. So yeah, they're really trying to support their seniors, and I can imagine playing bingo through Zoom. That might be really interesting. We can try it.
I mean, that caregiver respite thing, even for an afternoon, that's really important. I fully support everything she was promoting. It's yeah, and I don't see a lot of overlap, like Mary was mentioning about a couple of other agencies. So yeah, there's a big need out there. You know, for no other reason, just because of the time factor. I mean, it's one thing to try to provide emergency support for a week, few weeks, or but a year and a half now or longer, it's rough.
I agree that it is one of the few organizations, of course, I'd need to look at the whole list, that seems to be targeting helping seniors. And that's a needed thing. Obviously, we're all agreeing on that.
And for the Greater San Marcos Youth Council, there's really not anything that I can add or take away, because it's a service that's really needed. The stories that she tells are very heart-wrenching, but they're very true and just in real time today. So for the monies that they're asking for, I really agree, with what they're asking for because of what they're using it for. And
it'll save money in the long run.
I think so too.
Absolutely.
And save lives in the long run.
Right. Yeah.
Repeaters and are incarcerated. So I think that this is definitely two programs that we need to make sure, along with some others, stay in San Marcos, because it's very needed.
And Julia, she's in her agency, they've been around a while, but they're doing the work. They truly are doing the work, and with limited staff. When she said 4, I was like, oh my God, are you serious?
Right.
And, the challenging conversations that I can only imagine that have to happen between the children and the families. I'm surprised she still has 4.
And to be able to work with a family or with the kids for 2 years to make sure that they were, placed in adequate care, that just lets me know that they're determined to do the best work they can for the kids out here who are suffering at the hands of predators or at the hands of whomever.
You guys gotten to go to the shelter? That's the unfortunate part about all of this right now, is that we can't go and visit some of the sites. And it's a great place. And I know they work very hard, and to have, having somebody on site and awake and there to help 24/7 with these kids that have gone through such trauma. It's hard work.
Oh, they got to be very dedicated. They're very dedicated. And that was a good approach. Kudos to her, real life scenarios, that was a good tactic.
It's real though. It's real. Everything.
Oh, absolutely. No, I wasn't insinuating it was at all, I mean, it was the best way to present it, So at both ends of the spectrum, young folks and families that are struggling, and old folks, done, boom.
With Centicor asking specifically for the American Recovery Fund, Carol, is that where their monies will be coming out of? Whatever money that we give them?
Well, it really turns out now that we have more and more information about the American Recovery Program, it turns out it's very broad. And so I feel like just about everything, every application will qualify, because the idea that has like the regulation, I guess, says that anyone who is of low to moderate income, it's assumed that they had a negative impact from the pandemic. And so that broadens the whole thing. And so I don't want y'all to feel limited at all by that. Just consider it another pot, like not another pot, the same pot of money. And then once we decide who is going to be funded and how much, we as staff can make some recommendations to y'all to say, okay, here's some of the best fit for that funding source.
I was just asking because out of all the applications that I've looked at, unless I've overlooked something, they were the only ones that specifically mentioned the American.
Well, they may be thinking that, you know, they're pointing out, hey, we qualify, and maybe they're thinking, hey, that gives us a better chance. And ordinarily it might, but it seems like the funding source is now so broad that I think it'll be easier for y'all to just consider it all one pot of money, and then we'll figure it out on the back end.
So that's 1.7 that we're at right now. With the 7 organizations that are out, that's just gonna add more to 1.7. Okay.
It is. I can see how you might end up with 43 organizations to choose from. That's
I know.
That is no small task. Yeah, and I am going to try it very quickly, like within the next week. I'm going to try to catch up on some things and get you my scheme for how we can discuss it, so that y'all can start looking that over and giving me comments on it to see if you think it would work. But I have a couple of ideas on how to sort of weed through the whole list in a way that covers everything.
To send out reminders, is that something that you have to do? Because Mary and Eleanor, I think we ran into this one time, and I think it was Spool Fuel that did not turn their application in on time, or something happened and we voted to just to not allow them to turn in their application since everything had been submitted and they just had to submit the next year. Is this something kind of like that, or because you didn't send out a reminder, now you have to include them in?
So that's a really good question. So let me be clear. It is a courtesy. So we did publicly, we could put out public notices in the newspaper and so forth to let everyone know that the application process was ongoing. I guess we feel like it is needed because we missed so many that are typically a part of the process. And I can actually pull up the list while y'all are talking and let you know.
I was going to say, can you let us know who they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me.
Because the reason I was asking too is I know Mary and I know myself received calls from organizations who thought that they were on the list to be notified and they were not. And so we just let them know verbally to hurry up and submit your application. And they did. And the shoes, whatever that name is, he was one of them who didn't get a courtesy. So
let's see.
But
sorry, just one second.
Sending out the notices, was that part of the notification? Was it one of the ways in which you guys were going to notify everyone, or is that just something, like you said, you were doing it as a courtesy, but you missed some people?
Well, we just feel like
because you sent out some, you feel like you have to go back and send out the ones you missed?
Right, that's what we feel like, just because I feel
there's
like
nothing written saying that was one of the notification processes.
Well, I mean, it just was. We didn't create a specific marketing plan, but it was our intent. it was our intent to broadly do that. And it's partly because it just seems like the newspaper is not that effective anymore. Like, you know, how many times do you really, I don't know, I don't pick up the newspaper very often. And so we specifically wanted to get the word out. And so it was our plan to be sure and notify all the prior applicants for the past 3 years. And so anyway, that was the intention. And so we feel like it would be reasonable. I can tell you who we missed. Any Baby Can, BR3T, which is an applicant from 3 years ago. Let's see, Combined Community Action.
Can I ask real quick, what is the cutoff? Because you're saying one of those applications are from 3 years ago.
So it was our intent to send the notice to
no, I was
any applicant. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What? No, I'm sorry. I was asking, what is the cutoff? Is these 7 the cutoff, or you have next week, you have organizations from the past who say that they didn't get a courtesy and we have to reopen?
Oh, this is, yeah, so this is it. So this is just fulfilling the intent of what we were intending to do. So that's why we feel like we should. Let's see, just to continue the list really quick, Girls Empowerment Network, Hays County, just as a general organization, the Scheib Center, and Society of St. Vincent de Paul.
Some of these organizations know that they fill out an application at a certain time every year. And they know that if they didn't get a notice, like St. Vincent de Paul and Scheib, they've been applying ever since I've been on the board, which is more than 2 years. And
then there were 1 or 2 that just didn't apply a couple of times too. I mean, I think I'm just going to be honest. I think we let me see how I can say this politically correct without it being stop laughing, Eleanor.
Say it.
Okay, I think we may be digging a hole for ourselves. Okay. I hope not, Carol. You know what I'm saying, Joanne, where I'm going with this? Because, you know, you just said there was somebody 3 years ago they didn't. Who is to say somebody else who hasn't applied in 5 years might not pop up and say, hey, I heard, you know, you guys sent out those, I didn't get one. And I'm truly, you know, trying to not, I'm not trying to be negative about this, but sometimes we really need to think these things out because we need to decide how we're going to, if you're going to use 3 methods of notifying people, we need to document that somewhere to cover ourselves also. So next year, somebody doesn't come and say, hey, you know what, I found out that, you know, you didn't notify me, but you went back and you opened up the application process for 7 people and I applied, you know, 3 times out of the 6. Why didn't I get that notice?
Right.
Yeah,
so in an ideal world, we would have written procedures. And I can tell you, we have more work than you can imagine right now. I'll just be honest. It's unbelievable. And so we didn't take the time. I really have to say that. So I didn't take the time to write down our process yet. It is absolutely my intention to do that. And so for policies and procedures, I would recommend that every year what I will be putting in the written thing is make sure we send the notice to applicants from the prior 3 years, just as a way to make sure. And then also to our broader list. So we have a whole huge list of contacts that we're trying to build. Anytime we hear of an agency, we put it on the list. And so that's how some of them received a notification. They happen to be on our list of contacts that we have been building. But for example, Any Baby Can happened not to be on that list. And these other ones, Combined Community Action and Girls Empowerment and so forth. And so they just didn't. Now, let me give you another option too. If the board would prefer to vote on this and give us direction, we can't have direction tonight.
25.
Oh, thank you, Diego.
Yeah.
We can't have direction tonight because it wasn't an action item on the agenda. We can absolutely put this as an action item next week. if you would prefer to do that.
Please.
Okay, let's do that.
Carol,
Okay.
did you guys post it on social media? I believe.
I believe the communications office did.
I believe they did.
We put it on the internet, our web page, but I believe that they put it out through Facebook, I would think.
I'm pretty sure they did, because I had lots of different people notifying us through different means that the funding was available. Just
good.
I think when we meet next time, after all of this is completed, I know, Carol, you alluded to a meeting that we could have to discuss policies, procedures going forward. I think we should make sure that that is on our agenda as well. So maybe we can not notify, just put it out there like Eleanor was saying. And that way, if you have 3 or 4 ways to let them know it's time to apply for this grant, then that'll be it. I think you're putting extra work on yourself that you really don't need. But then another time.
I am all in favor of less work. Okay, so that can definitely be, because we were talking about the bylaws and so forth. We can definitely talk through policies and procedures for the board and decide. Yes, absolutely.
Right.
So let's see, and we will add it to the agenda for next week as an action item, and that way y'all can provide direction to staff.
Well,
and
have you told them already that you were going to be sending them an application? So is this something that we really need to meet on?
Oh, no, we have not promised anybody anything.
Oh, awesome. Then we can meet.
Good.
Okay. Okay. So then, I'm sorry. With that, we are at our normal time for discussion. I regret that my error took up some of it. If y'all have anything else to discuss, that is great. And if not, I'll just turn it back over to Joanne.
Okay, it's time to receive update from board members on activities since last meeting. Does any board member have an update for the group?
And I might just bust in just for a second, just so you know, the reports item and the question and answer session with press and public, we are required to put those on the agenda by the city clerk's office. It doesn't really make sense for our agenda here, but we have it, so.
Yeah, okay, all right, we'll move to the next item, which is future agenda items. Board members may provide requests for discussion items for a future agenda in accordance with the board's approval of bylaws. No further discussion can be held related to topics proposed until they are posted on a future agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. Does any board member want to request an item for future agenda? I do request for future, the next time we meet, that we discuss the new/old agencies coming in wanting to fill out applications after it's so late.
Great.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to the agenda item called question and answer session with press and public. It's an opportunity for the press and public to ask questions related to items on this agenda. Staff, is anyone present in person, online, or by phone to speak to this agenda item?
So we do have one member of the public, Joe Castillo, and he may just be attending to listen in, but Mr. Castillo, if you have a question, then he's got his hand up. So I believe you can, Irma, you may have to unmute him. I don't think I have powers tonight. She's allowed. Okay, so now you should be able to unmute Mr. Castillo. Okay.
Yeah, and as was mentioned earlier, I was one of the organizations that didn't get a notification, but I just found it through, because last year is when the—
So I'm sorry, Mr. Castillo, do you have a question for the board?
Well, I'm just wondering why the board hasn't followed the same procedures they did last year and the years before. Is, you have a set of group of organizations or how to turn in financial statements. Why not communicate with those organizations to let them know the application process is starting up? You need to get your application online. There was also a Zoom meeting that was held that I didn't know about. I mean, it's recorded, but it would have been nice to be part of that conversation.
So what I was mentioning is that it was our intention to notify everyone who had been an applicant for the past 3 years. The reason it was done differently this year is because we are new to the process. So the Community Initiatives Division has taken over the board. It was handed to us to take over from the Finance Department. And so we are used to running meetings a little bit differently and also running the processes differently. And actually that's one reason that we were requested to take it over, because we can bring a little bit more formality and a little bit more of an objective process to this process. And so anyway, but you can tell that we are having the growing pains of taking this on as a new activity for our division.
That you're asking our opinions and you're taking them so seriously. I like this. I like the process. You're including us in it. Thank you for your participation. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting? The motion was made by Eleanor.
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay. And do I hear a second?
Second.
Alfreda?
Second the motion.
Okay. All in favor say aye. All against say
aye.
We will adjourn this meeting at 8:32 p.m.